The Memorial this week. We're live in 30 seconds. And a very good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fairway to Heaven right here on Edge of Philly Sports. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. You know the drill. Hit those like and subscribe and follow and share buttons wherever you are watching. Do whatever you can to help out, to spread the word as we talk fantasy and gambling on the PGA Tour and golf in general on this great show. But let me tell you something. I say this on my morning show all the time. Everybody complains about the main media members and the way they do things. Well, help your local content creators out, help the small timers out, and grow the show by hitting that like, subscribe, and share button. I'm Phil Stiefel, as always, at Beard of Knowledge. Jason, my main man, sitting next to me, as always, without a bat underneath his name. But did you not come up with something funny enough to make fun of me with? Not like loser at DFS with a pointing finger at my way or something?
I couldn't think of anything fun. I couldn't think of anything funny to say. I deleted a couple, and then I'm like, yeah, I'll think of something for next week.
All you got to do is just make fun of me, and it's pretty easy.
That's what I was gonna do, but I mean, we'll save it.
I've been literally the absolute worst fantasy golf player in the last decade this year alone. So I figured, it would be pretty easy for you to make fun of me.
I don't know if you remember, but this is the 1-year anniversary of my first GPP victory.
I was going to ask you about that since it is the 1-year anniversary. What do you remember from your 1-year anniversary? Because, you've been lucky. You've actually had a very successful career at this, hence being that you've won and I haven't won. So that makes you way more successful than me. What do you remember about last year's Memorial? Obviously won by Viktor Hovland. And this is one of those legendary events that have been going on for ages at Jack's place here at Muirfield. What do you remember about the tournament itself, but also building that lineup that got you that win?
Well, I can tell you who I remember. I remember Viktor Hovland, Denny McCarthy, Adam Scott, Shane Lowry, Ricky Fowler, and Siwoo Kim.
That was your lineup.
6 guys I'll never forget right there. No, I was huge that week on both Hovland and Denny McCarthy, who Hovland was really low on that week. So that was huge for me. So going into the playoff, it didn't matter who won. I was going to win anyway. So that was awesome. I was so excited, dude. I started off the day, funny enough, winning $5 in that GPP and ended up winning the entire thing.
So here's the question. I mean, will you take a different approach this year, being that this year it's an elevated event? This year it's a smaller field. There is a cut in this elevated field, which is different than some of the others. Or so an event that you've had success in, being that the tournament structure is different, will you stick to what you think got you to the championship last year? Or will you try to tweak it a little bit?
I'm going to do that a little bit. I'm going to stick to it because I think the reason why would set that lineup apart from everything else is I started in the 9Ks. So right. I skipped over Scottie, and I think Rahm was still there at that point. Rory, there was a lot of good players. Cantlay. I mean, a lot of good players that were in the 10Ks, but I started off in the 9Ks and got 2 9K guys in there, which I think set it apart kind of a little bit different. So I think
you said you had Hovland and McCarthy and Siwoo. I mean, I'm looking at the leaderboard from last year at this event. Vic obviously won it. McCarthy was second. Scottie was third. Siwoo Kim fourth. Jordan Spieth was fifth. Rory was in seventh place. Fitzpatrick, a major winner, was in the top 10. Ricky Fowler was top 10. Wyndham Clark was in 12th. I mean, this leaderboard last year, considering that there was a lot more players in the field last year, I mean, it was a who's who. You know what I mean? Of guys that played in this event last year and were in the elite categories. So I kind of think you can almost take that in building a lineup this week. This is Jack's place. It's built to be one of the tougher tests in golf. You need your best golfers this week.
And that's the thing, too, is that you obviously Scottie Scheffler is the best player on the board. It's not even close. But it just comes down to a question of, can you make a good enough lineup with the other guys. And you saw that lineup. I mean, so that lineup finished first, second, fourth, ninth, 16th. Like you almost can't make a mistake, especially in these bigger contests. Like that was a 35,000 or 35,000 person contest. Like you can't make mistakes. So are you confident that you can find a 6K guy that can get you a top 15? I mean, that's the
Right.
problem.
Well, so so the question is, and we talked about this privately before the show yesterday, when I looked out and I saw the numbers, the prices released, and Scottie Scheffler is not in the 13K range.
Yep.
He's at 12.5, and I know it's a limited field. What's there, 72 guys in the field? I think it is 73 guys.
I think it's 71.
Nationals 73. I thought there was only 72 in the field. Anyway, you got Scottie at 12.5, Rory at 11.1. Then you have no 5K range. You got the 6K range, but you got Scottie at such a cheap price. What is DraftKings doing? Like you would have to think that in this small field, if you want to challenge guys by making these great lineups or great pricing, even with guys in the 6K only, you would think that Scottie Scheffler would have to be over 13K. And I think they just ruined it again this week because I'm sitting here before the show, before you joined the studio, trying to find ways to build lineups with Scottie Scheffler. Because Scottie Scheffler is clearly, hands down, 1,000%. I mean, I'm thinking early Tiger Woods, the way he's playing this year.
And that's the thing. I think they didn't make it hard enough. And we've talked about that week in and week out. I also think they got Rory's price wrong. I think he should be higher too. I think
absolutely
make people make a decision. It's too easy to build lineups with them. But I think, again, if you want to be different, starting a little bit lower, I think that's the way to go if you want to win a big contest.
So here's the thing. So you want to be different to win the big contest, which means fading that top tier range. But how can you justify, and I just to reiterate it, I pulled up his player profile, Scottie Scheffler. All right. Just for argument's sake, it started this year at the Century, 5th place. Then he went 17th, 6th, 3rd, 10th, first, 2nd, first, 8th, 2nd. He has only lost strokes over all the 5 major categories this year. He has only lost strokes 5 times. Twice putting. We knew his putting woes. He's only lost strokes off the tee once, only off on approach once. He hasn't lost strokes tee to green since, oh my God, the Players in 2022. Yep. That was when it was still in March 13, 2020.
And that was before he was Scottie. Like he was just
exactly. Like he's only lost strokes approach twice, around the green twice. Like, I mean, let's be honest. Like, I know you're making an argument to fade Scottie Scheffler, and start to be different. But is there almost a theory in your head that you could be different by going overweight on Scottie Scheffler?
I'm not even making the argument of fading him because I think he's by far the best player.
Right now, Fantasy Nationals got him at 24%. On this small field, you got to think it would get closer to 30. But if it stays in that 25 to 30 range, maybe you go 100% Scottie Scheffler.
I think it's going to be 40 to 45. I really do.
Do you?
Before it's all said and done.
Can you win a GPP with a guy over, even, we'll just throw it out there, with over 35%? Can you do it?
The dude's in the optimal lineup every week. That's the thing is, like, you read his results. I mean, he had won 17th and the rest were all basically top 10s. I mean, there's unbelievable. His stats are like, I know, we're not 100% stat based, but like his stats in certain tournaments are absolutely insane. You know that he gained 21 strokes tee to green last year on the field in this event? 21. Like that's
not a little bit. That's a lot.
He was the worst putter in the field in this event last year and he finished 3rd. So say he's like middle of the pack, he wins by 5. Like, it's unbelievable.
All right, so Muirfield Village, where the memorial is, Jack's place. They've made renovations over the last couple of years. It's over 7,500 yards. Super tough course. Very penal off the tee if you miss the fairways. Even though their fairways are fairly wide in consideration. Super tough greens. Super tough. Pretty much everywhere across the board. You've got to be dialed in. And something you mentioned to me and something I've been trying to focus in on, obviously when you got these tough courses, you want around the green play, putting, scrambling, those kind of things to focus. I don't know if you heard this, but Jack made a quote the other day that the reason why you see the green so hard to hold at this course and around the green play and certain things he's focusing in on is because he's saying that most golf courses that the PGA goes to are making the greens too easy for the players. And he wants to make sure Muirfield, where he hosts his tournament every year, he keeps it difficult. What are your thoughts on him saying, I purposely want this course to be difficult because I want the cream to rise to the top? I mean, I kind of love that talk from Jack Nicklaus.
Well, and he wanted to make it like Augusta. I think that was the thing that he wanted to do. And
wasn't it? It's near Augusta, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in Ohio. So.
Oh, I thought I read somewhere that it was in the. Maybe they were comparing it to Augusta. I thought I read it was to
it's similar to it. And I think like a lot of people have been talking about this week is that Jack freaked out. To your point, he freaked out a couple years ago. Remember that one year it was like 18 or 19 under won the golf tournament here. He does not want that. He wants single digit, maybe 10 under, like somewhere around there to win the golf tournament. So I think, having it be the way it is, but that almost plays more into Scottie's hands to bring it back to him. If a course is a tough course, tee to green, where it's tough to hit fairways, and then it's around the green play, super important. Well, who's the best at both of those things? So it's hard. It's hard to not like Scottie.
No, it's really hard. And I didn't bet Scottie this week, but I actually, we'll get into it in a little bit when we get further down the board. I have two favorite plays in the 9K range, 9 and 8K range, and I'm absolutely all over. But I built a lineup with a Scottie at 12.5, a 9K guy, an 8K guy, and then some lesser guys, obviously, to balance that out. So kind of like a stars and scrubs lineup there. I'm trying to think realistically. What is it? That anybody within 10 or 12 strokes of the leader makes the cut. So there could be, we've seen it a lot this year on tour, that one guy just goes super low in round one. There's a realistic chance that some guys miss the cut this week. I'm trying to justify, how golfers, and I wish there was an easier way to do this, how golfers score early in tournaments to kind of justify whether they can make the cut or not. Do you know what I'm getting at there?
Yeah.
Like you want guys that can hang around and then really pounce on that Saturday and stuff like that.
Fantasy National, you could probably figure that out. You could probably look into
it. I really need to spend more time on Fantasy National trying to find, because there's a lot of nuances of that site that I don't take advantage of. Anyway, so obviously Scottie Scheffler is hands down.
What was Steve's point that he put on there? I didn't see it.
No. Let me put it back up. Steve's point there. There's a few playable 6K guys. So I think Scottie will be high 35, 45, so that you can get creative with some 6K guys. Yeah, I think that's the case. I mean, let's be honest. This is an elevated event. Everybody in this field's either in the top 30 of the world rankings or has won recently. Every guy in this event has some form of success in the last year or two.
But I think to his point, I think if you're going to play Scottie, that's fine. But I think you have to then stay away from the Lee Hodges, the Lucas Glovers, anybody that's going to be chalky down below. You got to go a different way. And it's tough.
There you go. You say Lee Hodges, the first name that jumped out ownership wise in that low range. Lee Hodges at 15%. Yeah. Austin Eckroat's at 11%. You got guys in this 6K range that are like just up at the 7K. Lucas Glover's at 14, and these numbers are going to go up over the next couple of days. But can you feel comfortable, like looking just below Lee Hodges, who's 6,500? Are you going to build a lineup with Scottie Scheffler and Matt Kuchar, or Scottie Scheffler and Peter Malnati, or Scottie Scheffler and Matthew Pavon? Are you really going to do that to yourself? Because you have to get the difference.
I'm never playing Kuchar ever again. I played him one time each of the last 2 years, and he missed the cut. So I'll never play
him last week, and
I'll never play that asshole ever again.
Yeah, so, he's done. Is he dead? He's dead to you, right? God, yeah.
He's on the Matt Wolff team. Yeah.
So, I mean, let's look at the top of the board. Obviously, you got Scottie at 12.5. You got Rory. You already said mispriced at 11.1, which I agree. Xander's at 10.8 or 10.9, coming off, obviously, his win at the PGA Championship, and Victor Hovland at 10.2. And I want to say this. You mentioned Scottie's price wrong. You mentioned Rory's price wrong. I think Hovland is the defending champion, but being kind of just recently had a little bit of success. Mm-hmm. I think they might have even gotten Xander's price wrong. Because if you looked at, I don't know where it is now, but on Monday when odds were released, Xander Schauffele, not Rory McIlroy, not Victor Hovland, the defending champion, was the second favorite to win this event. His odds went from hovering in that 10, 12, 16 to 1 range to now, after winning one major, he was 7 to 1 at the first start drop of odds on DraftKings. So I always kind of look at that. I try to look at the odds and the pricing side by side, and do you trust Xander after one big win? Is that enough for you to trust him in a big event like this? Or is he going to go back to just being Xander, who is a top 10 machine,
Right.
but can't win the big thing?
I don't know. That's a tough question. And I think in this range, I think the hardest point is that like you're trying to find any reason to not play a guy. Because I feel like you can argue any of those guys above 10K, you argue and you can make good arguments to play, right? Absolutely. I think the only thing that the argument against him is that his course history isn't as good as the other ones. Like it just isn't. And I mean, I guess you could say that about Hovland too, who besides the win really hasn't been that great here either. But it's just like it's tough, and you got to pick something, and maybe that's your narrative that you go with. But I was hoping that Rory would be lower owned this week, which it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. He's already up to 17. They're saying,
right? Because Rory is still out of those top 4 names, the lowest projected owned guy out of those 4 names, and to me, that's kind of shocking. Like Rory, for some reason, still is getting no respect this year, and honestly, the last month or two, he's turned his season around, his career around massively. I mean, obviously winning the Wells Fargo helps, but 12th at the PGA, 4th at the RBC, at the 3rd at Valero, had an okay finish at the Masters. I mean, Rory went from being that guy that we didn't know if he could even win again to being one of, if not the 2nd or 3rd best golfer in the game again.
I think the thing about him is like the PGA finished 12th. He didn't really play that well. I mean, last week he finished 4th. He had a couple bad rounds. I mean, like he hasn't put it all together, and he's still finishing top 10 in every event. So I like Rory a lot this week.
I think Xander taking 2 weeks off to soak in the major win is going to allow him to play focus. Yeah, I like this theory. You notice Bobby Mack, who won last week.
Right.
That was a great story. Can you imagine if your son Jax becomes this great golfer and he calls you, he's like, "Yo, I miss you, Dad. You come carry the bag for this week," and then he goes out and wins his first PGA Tour event. Like, I love the taking off the week after your first win, or in Xander's case, first major, and he took 2 weeks off. I kind of like that theory to an extent. And Xander in general, I mean, Xander's a great approach player, a great tee to green player, he doesn't make bogeys. He is literally great in every aspect of his game. So again, like you said, you can make an argument for every single one of these guys or to fade all of them.
Yeah. I'm honestly surprised that, to go back to Bobby Mack for a second, that he's not playing this week, being that it's an elevated event. Like, I get it. Your first career win and all that stuff, you want to enjoy it, but like this is an elevated event. You're talking a lot more money. Yeah. And the thing that I like, the reason why I like a lot of these guys this week, like Xander for one, is that next week's the US Open. So like he's going to want to ramp up now for next week. So
this is and I wrote this down. I mean, this is a tough stretch. You got this week, elevated event. Then you got the US Open, which is kind of sort of an elevated event, prize pool wise. And then you got 3 straight weeks of elevated events. I'm surprised Rory played the RBC Canadian last week. I know he'd won there before at that course and all. That means he's going to be playing 4 weeks in a row. And that whole golfer's fatigue thing, golfers don't like to play more than 2 or 3 weeks in a row, without getting that break. Not just for, the fact that they want to go home for a little bit, but also because it's a lot of travel, a lot of stress on the body and stuff. Do you like the fact that they're piggybacking majors with elevated events like this?
I was just going to ask you that same question. I don't like it. No.
As a golf fan on TV, I like seeing the big names every week, but I also understand that come like 5 now, there's going to be a lot of really weak fields coming up.
That's the thing that sucks. Like once you get past that next elevated event after this one, it's like you're going to go into like the summer months of 3M, Detroit Rocket Mortgage, like these crappy events where it's like, wouldn't it be cool if the Memorial was in the middle of those, or one of these other elevated events was in the middle of those?
After these 3 events in a row, you got the Open Championship and what's the Scottish Open that everybody goes over to the DP Tour to play in. But outside of that, that's it. Yep. That's all they got.
Yeah, I don't love it.
I like it. It's going to be entertaining for 3 weeks, but it's also going to make the dog days of summer very boring.
Can I also say, kind of go on a little tangent, I hate the elevated events, especially that they're only like 70 people. Like that just really I don't know. I feel like you're ruining, the Memorial, which might be the best non-major, that in Sawgrass is probably the best non-majors on the schedule. And so I feel like you're kind of ruining it a little bit.
Yeah, I think they could have, and there might be some tweaking to the
Yeah.
to the rules of elevated events as the years go by, since it's still fairly a new thing. But yeah, I don't mind you doing an elevated event, but kind of make it more like a major in the sense where you got a big field, you got to
Yeah.
qualify, and because they earn so many, like the people that play in this event, most of them are already earned their rights into the Masters for the next 5 years, or the U.S. Open, or whatnot. Or if you want to bridge the gap between the PGA Tour and Live, give Live golfers an opportunity to qualify for these elevated events.
Yeah.
Which will kind of it'll bridge the gap. It'll make everybody. It'll give us an opportunity to see someone like Brooks or Bryson here. Maybe that's a way to spice up the elevated events to give us more of those Live golfers than the 3 times a year we get to see them.
That's a good point too, and I think you're seeing the impact of the Live guys not being in these events, especially events like this. When you're talking about the odds, like you talked about Xander being 7-1, like that, you're seeing that because you're not seeing Bryson, you're not seeing Rahm, you're not seeing Brooks. I mean, like that's all played into it, and it kind of sucks. It's like, I don't know, I really want that back again.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm onto something here though. That just came out of nowhere in my mind.
Like
giving the Live guys a chance to qualify for these events. Tell the Live guys they can all, if they qualify for the U.S. Open and they have a great showing at the U.S. Open or the Open Championship, then the next year's elevated events they could pick 2 or 3 of them, and they can just get like every Live golfer that qualifies or does well or whatever in a major gets to pick the next year 2 elevated events, and then Live can behind the scenes be like, you go to these 2, you go to these 2, so we get some guys in each event. I don't know, a way to help. I just think golf needs to bridge the gap, and these events, instead of just giving more money to Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, which is what these Live events are doing, because they're winning these events. Let's give more to the fans in these things.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve likes that idea, so yeah, I'm gonna go pat myself on the back on that one right there. That literally just popped into my head out of nowhere. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I like that.
All right, let's go into this 9K range here. Probably one of the hottest names this week that everybody's talking about. Collin Morikawa is at the top of the board. Oberg, who's obviously, had the knee issue a few weeks ago, but whatever. Patrick Cantlay, Justin Thomas, Tommy Fleetwood, and Hideki Matsuyama are in this range. Tell me I'm crazy. I mean, I bet Collin Morikawa top 10 not to win outright, and I know Collin Morikawa has been really, really good the last 5 weeks he's teed it up, but I just can't get behind Collin Morikawa being probably the second highest owned guy at 9,800. I think there's better options. Plus the fact that his last 2 times at this event, he withdrew last year, but then he missed the cut the year before that. And I know he had the second in 21, but in 2020, he was barely cracked the top 50. So to me, I don't know.
He was also, when he withdrew last year, he was also in the second to last group, though. So he would have been, I think it was like an illness or something. He was in the second to last group. So, I mean, that's kind of misleading a little bit, but I see what you're saying.
Right. But still, take that out. He's got a missed cut and a 48th in 2 of his last 3 events or times teeing it up here before that. I don't know if I can. I don't know. It's also a very long course. Collin's not the biggest of hitters. He's a great iron player. He's great tee to green normally, but is Collin Morikawa right to be the top picked guy in this range?
I feel like he is. Honestly, I feel like he is. Okay. I feel like this course sets up perfect for him. We've seen his track record recently, not just the high finishes, but what events he's finishing high in. I think he's falling apart at the end of these events, which is not ideal, obviously, but I just feel like his overall game, and if he gets the irons rolling at all, like I feel like he's capable of winning this event. And that's the thing about the 9K range is that I don't feel like outside of him, there's a lot of win equity in the 9K.
See, I disagree. I think I know he's missed 1 cut in the last month and a half. But I love Justin Thomas this week.
I like Justin Thomas.
8th at the PGA, 5th at the RBC, 21st at the Wells Fargo. Obviously missed the cut at the Masters. And he was in a bad stretch there, missing 3 out of 5 cuts. But since then, and the fact that, again, Justin Thomas missed the cut here last year, but has had course history in the past, I think Justin Thomas at almost half the ownership is a better play than Collin Morikawa.
I don't think he's a better play, but I will say that there's 2 guys I'm going to play in the 9K range, and it's both of those 2 guys. So I'm not really like,
if
arguing.
He can cut average Justin Thomas, because he does everything else well. He scrambles well. He's great around the green. Great. You got to be able to score. The only holes on this course that average under par are the par fives. So I'm zoning in on that. He's great at par fives. He's great tee to green. Literally, if he putts average, and we've seen guys win events at that 0, 0.9 plus, 0.9 minus, strokes gained putting win events before. I'd rather take that chance on JT at 12 or 14% than Colin Morikawa, who's probably going to get up to, with the way every channel, every podcast is hyping him up, I bet you Colin Morikawa is in that 25 to 29% range.
I think so too. And the other knock against JT, I think I'm going to be playing him a lot this week, but I feel like the other knock is his accuracy. I mean, like he could spray it at times. We know that. So it worries me a little bit with him. And I feel like that's where Morikawa's game is better than his. Is just he hits fairways.
Would you feel that Muirfield and the Memorial is more of a PGA Championship type course or a U.S. Open type course?
I think it's more of a U.S. Open type course.
See, I was thinking it was more PGA with having to be able to scramble. Really, either way, they're both types of courses that you have to scramble. And I'm just looking at when there's a course that the host of the tournament wants it to be under 10 under par. Right. There's certain types of golfers I look at. JT is one of them. Max Homa, normally Max Homa is in terrible form right now, so maybe not Max Homa this week per se, but certain kinds of grinders. And I just kind of feel like as long as he makes the cut, JT can move himself into contention come the 10th hole on Sunday. And that's why I kind of went that way. What about the rest of this range?
I don't like anybody else in this range. I'll be honest with you. I really don't. Matsuyama is intriguing, but I don't feel like he can win. And I don't want to roster a guy over 9K that I don't think can win. Mm-hmm. I think his game fits ideally for this course, but I mean, like even his track record here. I mean, you see holes in it, like 16th DQ, T62, cut 6. Like that's not super reliable form, or not form, but history here.
Yeah. Before we get into the 8K range, guys, I got to shout out cherrytickets.com. Great moments don't just happen. They happen with you in the crowd. It's easy to use with no hidden fees. The price you see is the price you pay. Pay less, play more, cherrytickets.com. Use their exclusive promo code EOP10 at checkout. It saves you an additional 10%. So why would you use any other reseller with no hidden fees and an extra 10% off? If you need a more personal touch, 610-494-5050 is the number to call. Just make sure you mention EOP and Fairway to Heaven when talking to them. Again, remember, don't overpay with the rest. Save with the best, cherrytickets.com. You like how I say .com?
I do. Yeah.
I got it. Again, I don't know if you, next ad read I do, watch the little mini graphic at the bottom. Can you see me at the bottom of the screen too?
No.
Mm-hmm. So on my side, there's little pictures of you too. So I still talk with, like, you can't see me when I'm doing the ad read, and I'm still going like this, and I can't help myself. 8K range, okay? Obviously, you don't like that 9K range. Top of the board, 3 names I want to zone in on. Wyndham Clark, which is crazy that he's only 8,900. Sahith Theegala, who I know you made some comments about him this weekend after how he, poorly performed this past week, and Max Homa. They're the top 3 names. Homa, in theory, last year would have been a great play here, but Max Homa is in terrible shape. Clark and Theegala tend to spray the ball a little bit. Let's start with Theegala. What was your thoughts? You tweeted something out about Theegala this weekend. And I want to get your thoughts.
He's a really good player.
Replay it out and shout out what you said about him.
He's a really good player. I'm not taking that away from him. He's been awesome this year, but I think he's not that proven winner yet. So I feel like if he's in the high 9Ks or 10Ks, you can't play him. It doesn't matter what the tournament is. We've seen him 2 times in a row be over 10K and miss the cut. Or I don't know if he missed the cut the first time, but he finished like 50th or something. So he's not. You can't lock down a lineup with him. I feel like he's a middle of the pack guy in like a big tournament kind of guy. He sprays it off the tee, which is concerning, obviously. Mm-hmm. He has been horrible around the green, and his putting hasn't been as good as it normally is. So it's like right now for me, it's just not. I can't play him in any way. I just don't think his form is good enough right now. And especially when we see off the tee and around the green being the 2 most important things probably this week, he's struggling in both areas right now. So Absolutely. It's a no for me.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, he burned me big time last week.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I should have known that. But I figured still, I went away. Sometimes you overthink things, and when your gut tells you something, you're like, but, and you tweak it, and then you're stuck. You know what I mean? So I get it. What about Clark and Homa in this up top part of this range as well?
Homa's my favorite out of those two just because of his history here. You're right. He has been a mess this year. And I think the most alarming thing is off the tee. That's the thing that bothers me the most. I'm on the fence about playing him. I want to play Wyndham Clark, but I can't get there. I think the thing that's scariest about Wyndham Clark recently, I'm going to pull up his stat profile right now, but he's been losing strokes off the tee, which that is one of his strong points of his game. He has not been good over the past few. I'm going to see how many tournaments. I think it's like 3 or 4 tournaments in a row. So he lost 5 strokes off the tee, 5.4 strokes off the tee. I'm sorry, tee to green in the PGA, and he lost 1.4 strokes tee to green before that. Like, that's his strong point. That would be like, to a lesser example, but that would be like Scottie losing tee to green all of a sudden. That would be a huge concern. So
it's weird because looking at those 3 names, you would think on recent form, Homa might have the lowest owner. Homa's the highest owned out of those 3 guys.
yeah.
Clark right now is only at 7%, 8 something for Tagala, and then almost 12 for Homa. I'm kind of shocked on how the ownership is playing. How do you take that into account? I mean, recent form at a course like this that's this difficult has to be taken into account. Homa's recent form is not great, but his course history. How do you weigh the difference between course history and recent form?
Well, I think that's the answer right there. I think people are seeing the T5 and the T6. So I want a guy in recent form, but like when a guy shows at a tough course like this that he's finished 5th and 6th here, that's enough for me, to be honest with you. Like if he's not absolutely shitting the bed current form, I'm okay with playing him. So I think at 8,700, I think that's a pretty good price for him as well.
I mean, Max Homa's only gained strokes off the tee twice in his last 10 events.
Which is
he's only 4 times he's gained tee to green in his last. Like, and I get it, you know what I mean? Because you know me, I love Max Homa. He's one of my favorite golfers on tour, especially in these type of courses. But I'm trying to weigh that recent form versus the course history, and I just can't nail it down. What's the right way to go about it?
Well, and I think this whole range, the 8K range, it every single person is confusing this week. I feel like there's not one that you're like,
Spieth is another one.
Yeah.
Great course history, terrible form,
and his approach game has been just awful. Like he's been so bad with the irons. I mean, you can go down every single name in this range though and say like a strength and a weakness. Like Corey Connors' ball striking is amazing. Do we think he can win an elevated event? I don't think he can putt good enough to win an elevated event. Yeah. Benny on, same way. It's like almost the same story. Sam Burns has been hit and miss. Fitzpatrick's been hit and miss. Noren has been great, except for last week. I mean, he kind of shit the bed. And then Henley, who's everybody's on this week, but is his upside good enough to win this tournament? I don't think so.
Not at that an ownership percentage. You mentioned one name that I'm trying to be different this week. Not necessarily pivoting because I kind of feel like that some of my struggles this year may have been because I'm going against my philosophy of not pivoting off of my favorite guys, and I pivoted way too many times this year. Sam Burns, I know he missed the cut at the PGA. That was baby stuff going on there. You know what I mean? And the 2 events, the event before that, the event after that, I started to think I saw, him just eye test wise start to turn a little bit of a corner back to the Sam Burns that was slowly ascending last year. He was 16th here last year in a strong field. I kind of, if I had to pick between Burns and Homa and Spieth, these guys that have questionable recent form, I don't know, maybe be a little different than the rest of the DFS world and going with Sam Burns. I mean, is Sam Burns really going to miss the cut this week?
The thing that's alarming about him to me is the putter. Like we've seen him be a borderline elite putter, one of the best putters on the tour. I wouldn't even say borderline elite. I would say elite putter on the tour. And he's lost strokes with the putter 3 of his last 6. And it just happens to be every time he loses with the putter is when he does terrible in the tournament. I mean, he finished 10th last week. He gained a little bit. He lost 5 strokes putting in the PGA Championship. He missed the cut. He gained.
I'm gonna give him the baby excuse for the PGA.
Right. But I mean, like, just to kind of go a little bit further, Wells Fargo, he gained 2 strokes putting. He finished 13th. He lost 2 at the Heritage. He finished 44th. He's very putter dependent, and it worries me if his putter is not extremely hot.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, that's all. They're fair comments. I'm more trying to ask questions to pick your brain to get an idea. Obviously, you've won this event before yourself, so I'm trying to pick your brain on it.
Historically, he does good on long courses. Like he's always been a good long course player. He's a good putter. I mean, like this should fit him pretty well. This course, I feel like.
Sam Burns versus the big boys always lets me down.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain guys that just perform better in the smaller field. You got to take that into account as well. I mean, this is an elevated event. You've got the 30 best golfers in the world on the PGA Tour in this event. Next sponsor on our list before we get into the 7K range is obviously PhillySportsTrips.com. If you're a Philly sports fan and you want to travel with your favorite team, then travel with the best, PhillySportsTrips.com. They feature premium travel and tailgate experiences for the best fans around. Self and full travel packages for any of your favorite Philly teams. Go to PhillySportsTrips.com, sign up, let them know EOP, Fairway to Heaven, is where you heard from them. Brazil, week 1 of the NFL season. Eagles, Green Bay Packers, they got a great trip. If that's too rich for your blood, they got a trip coming up next week to Boston to see the Phillies. They got a day trip down to Baltimore to see the Phillies, and a great trip out to Fenway Park to see the Phillies taking the Cubs over the 4th of July weekend. PhillySportsTrips.com. Make sure you check them out, guys.
Listen,
back to it.
Just one thing to go on your ad. You know, you have a city where you can't wear green to the stadium, but yeah, you have 2 green teams playing against each other.
The dumbest freaking thing in the world. Let me just say that. It is the dumbest thing in the world. But if you want to go there, I know you're not a Philly fan and you wouldn't travel to Brazil. You should go to PhillySportsTrips.com's Facebook page, and they have pictures of, because they sent some of their crew down to Brazil to lock in the hotel, to pre-book some tours and all the places that they're going to take the fans that go on the package. Like, I'm too old to party Brazil style, but I would consider doing it because some of the places that they got linked on this, they're banging. It's going to be an amazing.
I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Yeah.
And they do things. They always have celebrities and Eagles celebrities with them on those things. So, 7K range. Okay. Tony Finau's at the top of it with Shane Lowry. As our friend likes to call him, Scam Young. Tom Kim looked okay the last time out. You got a lot of names down here. Give me your thoughts on this range. Obviously, Denny McCarthy was part of your lineup last year in this range. I'm pretty sure he's going to be fairly highly owned this week. Where are you looking at the top of the 7K range?
It's going to be chalky for both, but I like Siwoo. I don't really care if his ownership gets high. I feel like he fits perfectly for this course. I mean, he's not good with the putter. He's been really bad with the putter recently, but I mean, he's an accurate guy, good with his good iron player, good around the green player. So Siwoo is my favorite. I'm going to be super overweight on him regardless. And Denny McCarthy's the other one too. I've heard a lot of knocks on Denny recently saying like, well, last year I think he gained 11 strokes on the greens last year at this event. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's obviously crazy, except for he gains strokes every week with his putter. So like, if anyone's going to do it again, it's him. So I think that's misleading when everybody's saying like, oh, take the putter out of it. Well, it's like, that's the best part of his game. So he's been good here for the past 2 years, in pretty good form too. So I like him. Who do you like in this range?
I don't know if I like this guy or not. I'm talking myself into him because I want to play Scottie Scheffler, who's going to be close to 40%. This guy's had some missed cuts at this event, some top 10, some top 20s. But in general, he's been really good with the putter this year, mostly good off the tee this year. He's normally a very good around the green player. His results this year have been hit and miss, but some of these key categories, par 5 scoring, around the green, scrambling, putting, he's been very good this year in, and that's Jason Day. And he's only projected right now at 4% ownership. Thoughts on Jason Day, the inconsistency at this course and this year, but a lot of the key categories that you need to succeed, he's been good in this year.
He's a question mark for me right now. I kind of wanted to find somebody in this range that was lower owned. And like, we've seen him play pretty well.
I mean,
yeah, like we've seen him play really well. His short game's been typical of him. He just struggles off the tee, which at a course like this, that's so long, it worries me a little bit. But I mean, like, we've seen him, what was he? Fourth place at the Wells Fargo. Like, we've seen him pop a little bit. And I'm on the fence about him. Kind of give me your little pitch on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at, so what I'm trying to do differently this week, I haven't been doing, is I have my model built. Obviously, we will always make our models based off fantasynational.com. Make sure you check out fantasynational.com. I need to make a graphic so I can promote them better, like all these other sponsors. Fantasynational.com. But what I'm doing, I'm zoning in on, basically I'm picking 2 or 3 stats and I'm resorting. Like if I resort par 5 scoring, what other stats are these guys in the top 10 or 20 in? It's something I notice, and I always read PGA Tout's weekly article. Every week it's the first thing I do is I read the PGA Tout preview article. And he always has little paragraphs. Well, these guys are in the top 10 in these 3 categories, or these 8 guys are above average in these 4 categories, all of them, grouping guys into categories. Jason Day has excelled in 3 or 4 very, very key stats this year that should translate to success at this course. And he gives you the flexibility to play Scottie at 35%, being that if he's going to stay under 6 or 7%, it gives you that flexibility. I think it's the risk reward is, I don't think Jason Day can win. I think his ceiling is like 10th, 12th place. I don't know if he can miss the cut. I think he's going to be between 15th and 35th place this week. 4% ownership, whatever he is, 75, 7,600. Is that worth the price? And I think if he finishes 20th place at 4% ownership and he's in your lineups, I think it's worth the price.
It sucks because I think he's a little bit overpriced. Like if he was in the lower 7Ks, I feel like it would be an easier sell. I just feel like,
but I also think his ownership would go way up if he was lower price.
Yeah, it's true for sure. But I just feel like the 4 guys that are directly below him are better plays. That's my only thing. Denny McCarthy,
McCarthy, yes, I get that.
McCarthy, Straka, Zalatoris, and Horschel. I like all those plays better. But they're all like
Zalatoris. But why Zalatoris? Because Zalatoris, his last 3 events, hasn't cracked the top 40. He's lost strokes. He's lost, I'm trying to do math, 6.4 strokes over the last 3 events around the green. He's lost almost 4 strokes putting in his last 3 events. I mean, Zalatoris was showing some signs of recovering from the back, and then all of a sudden, actually 4 of his last 5 events outside the Masters, he's been atrocious since the Arnold Palmer.
That's the thing that worries me a little bit with him, is that like this used to be the kind of event that he would just dominate. Like
absolutely.
Not win.
Pre-back injury, Will Zalatoris would probably be my favorite play this week.
It would be a top 5 guaranteed. Like and he would probably be $9,000. Like that's the difference. But I just feel like his capability. But the thing that worries me the most, like you said, the back injury, the ball strike. Like you're seeing an elite ball striker that's no longer an elite ball striker.
That's why I would take Jason Day 10 times over Will Zalatoris this week.
Okay.
I don't know. And you know what's crazy? It's not because he's burned me. And he has burned me, Will Zalatoris.
Yeah, me too.
Plenty of times. The first time I ever went super overweight on a golfer was last year when I put Zalatoris in 18 of 20 lineups. And he missed the cut that week. But I still have faith in Will Zalatoris, the golfer. I just don't know if he's consistent enough in this deep of a field, although he does perform well when the lights are the brightest normally. So I don't know.
That's the
I'm a little hesitant on Will Zalatoris.
Losing strokes off the tee in 3 of his last 5. Like that's for a guy that's his strength. Like that's not ideal.
He's 69th in the field and around the green, 66 in scrambling, 70th with the punter in this field. The only thing he's elite in this field in comparison to this field at 2 is his par 5 scoring. And that's it. I mean, I don't know. I can't get behind him at all. How about the bottom half of this range? Anybody you like?
There's a few in this range. I like Brian Harman a lot. I just feel like this course fits him well. He doesn't have great course history, if I'm not mistaken. Well, he has an 18th there. So he's basically either a miscut or a top 25. There's no in between. But I like Harman. And then I like Harris English. And then 2 that I'm kind of on the fence right now about are Steven Yeager, who in theory, when he's going well, I feel like this course fits him perfectly. And then Mackenzie Hughes. Those are my 2 that are.
I like Mackenzie Hughes. He is definitely on my started list. He's definitely a guy you can bounce out a lineup with. I'm going to give you a name, and this is tough because he's lost strokes putting his last 4 events that he's played in. He's lost strokes in 4, 5, 6 of his last events around 6 of his last 8 around the green. But he hits the ball a ton. He's great tee to green. He's great off the tee. He's great on approach. So if he could just putt average. He hasn't missed a cut since the Arnold Palmer. He's got multiple top 25 and 30s this year. That's Kurt Kitayama at 7K. And again, sub 10% ownership. Give me Scottie Scheffler with Jason Day and Kurt Kitayama. Maybe you're making some kind of a creative lineup there.
Well, and he pops in the model too. I think that's a big thing. The only thing that worries me about him is he's missed 2 cuts in a row here. That worries me.
Oh, he's got terrible course history. There's no doubt about that. But again, I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to justify a lot of Scottie Scheffler and his high ownership.
Right.
So, and maybe I'm putting too much thought into it. Maybe I don't worry about ownership at all this weekend. I just play straight chalk. I don't know.
I think you can to a certain extent. I think the only place I'm avoiding high ownership is going to be in the lower than 7K range.
All right, one final sponsor here before we move on to the bottom and then build some lineups, and that's the great David R. Cherry, the Cherry Law Firm. If you get hurt at work in a motor vehicle accident or arrested wrongly like Scottie Scheffler, call David R. Cherry, the Cherry Law Firm. He is here to fight for you and get you what you deserve. Why do you think the cops dropped the charges on Scottie Scheffler? It's because he called David R. Cherry of the Cherry Law Firm. Give him a call, 610-565-0300, or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let them know you heard about him right here on Fairway to Heaven on Edge of Philly Sports. David R. Cherry, again, that's 610-565-0300, or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. I didn't really enunciate the .com that time. I thought I made the joke about Scottie Scheffler, and that was good enough in that ad read right there.
Great. So great.
Still solid right there. All right, so if you're not going to go chalk, you're going to have to play somebody in the 6K range, I think, this week. Mm-hmm. Considering you don't like the 8K range, there's not a lot of great options at the top of the 7K. You might have to play a 6K guy. Is there a guy in the 6K you like?
So I'm going to give you my three that I really like. I like Hodges, but I think that ownership scares me a little bit too much. Justin Rose, we saw him he's been better. I mean, especially at the PGA, he was fourth in the PGA or sixth, one of those. He's been pretty damn good lately. I feel like this course fits him pretty well, so I like him. Emiliano Grillo intrigues me a little bit this week. I think he's a good iron player, and I feel like this course, in theory, I think sets up for him, especially if it's he's a good ball striker. If he can get it going at all around the greens and on the greens, I like him a lot. And then I'm going to go back to Pendrith. Worries me a little bit because I don't think he is quite a big game hunter yet. Like, I don't think this kind of tournament is conducive to his skills, but I feel like he's just more talented than everybody in this range now. We're seeing him putt, which he's always been a good ball striker, but now we're seeing him putt a little bit too. So I like the upside a little bit with him, and I feel like he could come out and finish 60th, but I feel like he's one of the only guys in this range that has like top 20 upside.
Okay. All those names were names I have starred right now. I have two more names starred. And I'm not saying I'm playing all these guys, but all those guys you mentioned, I have starred, but I have two others. And that's Thomas Dietrich, who he's only played this event once and he made the cut, but didn't finish great. But again, putting contest, he has not lost strokes putting since since beginning of March. He's literally gaining some weeks, PGA Championship 4 strokes putting gain, over 5 at the Heritage, almost 5 at the Houston Open, over 5 at the Players. He does well with his putter.
He's been better.
What's that?
He's been better off the tee too, which is
better off the tee.
His weakness.
At the PGA, he improved his last couple of weeks around the green. His approach play has gotten generally better. I like Thomas Dietrich this week, and I want to get your thoughts on. He won for the first time in ages, but it was 2 weeks ago at the Charles Schwab. Took the week off, and that's Davis Riley, another guy that's a great putter, great approach player. His last 2 events, solid off the tee and on tee to green. I'm just looking at it now. He gained 11.5 strokes tee to green at Charles Schwab when he won. That's how you win an event. Gain 11 strokes tee to green.
8 strokes approach. That's pretty damn solid.
Yeah. Thoughts on Dietrich and Davis Riley coming off of his first win in maybe ever. I don't even know if he had won before that.
He had won.
He had a couple wins before that.
He had a team event. Yeah. He's interesting to me too, and he popped a little bit for me too. I think, especially with this kind of a course. I mean, like, he's going to be is he going to win? No, but is he a birdie maker? Yes. Which birdies and bogeys are better than pars. So in DFS, so I don't mind
both those names. Sub 7% ownership.
Yeah, and especially if he's going to putt like he has been lately, I think I can get on board with that too.
Steve asking about Putnam and Todd in the 6K range. Well, not asking. He's telling us he likes them. He didn't ask our opinions. He just told us he likes them.
Putnam finished 5th here last year, so I mean, like, he's obviously got the upside. My only thing with him is that he's been progressively getting worse over like the past 4 or 5 weeks. So
I had him starred and then instantly unstarred him, and I forget why. Let me pull up his player profile.
Last 4 weeks,
Charles Schwab. He has not. This is why I unstarred him. He has only gained strokes off the tee once this year. Only twice since June of. He's only gained strokes twice off the tee since last year's of time he played this event, and that's not a recipe for success, you know.
I just don't like the way he's trending. I think that's my biggest thing with Putnam is that I mean, over the last 4, 18th, 29th, 53rd missed cut. Like that's trending the wrong way for me. That's not trending in the AM. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
that is not trending in the AM. That's trending in the wrong way.
Yeah.
See, look at you even doing segues for me here. And guys, for all the golf fans listening, I had it wrong when I texted you last week, Jason. For the golf fans and the golf enthusiasts, you got to tune into Train the AM on Friday morning. The show runs from 8 to 9:30, but at 9 a.m. joining me on the show Friday is going to be the great Sia Najad from Win Daily Sports, from the Sia Najad Sports Network, from Sirius XM. He's not only just a great golf expert and gambling expert, but he's also a fantastic motivational speaker. Yeah. He's a World Series of Poker cash. He's got, he's a lawyer. I mean, he's literally done it all. And he's going to be joining us to have a fantastic, positive sports conversation on Friday morning.
Plus, he's just a good dude. He's a super smart guy that's also a great person.
He is literally one of the nicest people out there. I love this comment right here.
Well, ironically, that's how I felt about Sepp Straka, and then he got kind of good. So I don't know.
All right, let's build some lineups here. You destroyed me last week because I had every week. I think it can't get any worse in DFS. It just progressively gets worse. And last week was no different. I think I actually might change my philosophy and just give up DFS altogether, because all of a sudden, since I started betting top 20s, I'm hitting top 20 bets.
Phil needs like whatever the DFS version of like Alcoholics Anonymous is. That's what you need. Like you need to pick me up, like get going again.
Literally, I have gone like everybody has ups and downs in gambling and fantasy sports, but I've gone from the highest of highs the last 2 years. I know I haven't won a GPP like you, but I was at a minimum doubling my money every single week at a minimum for the last 2 years. And I don't even know if I've profited $1 combined the last like 6 or 8 weeks. Like it's just atrocious. It's just literally I'm donkeying off money. Like it's my first time doing this.
I feel like for the first time in my life, talked somebody off the DFS ledge the other day. Or I was trying to. I don't know if I did. I was trying to.
I almost decided to quit. I really thought about quitting it. I literally had, I think I had 2 of 6 lineups last week. Out of 21 lineups, 6 of them, only 2 out of 6 made the cut. Like it was like I could find my player pool from last week somewhere in here. Like it was bad. Like some of these names, I obviously Thagala was in 12 of my lineups. That doesn't help. Lowry didn't have a great finish. Cam Young, 8 lineups. That was a bomb. Hadwin missed the cut. That was a bomb. So many of my Berger missed the cut. That was a bomb. So many of my plays last week bombed. So I'm tapped out. But I'm changing it up.
You're coming back.
I'm coming back. So where are we? Obviously, I sucked. So where's the record now after last week?
It's me 10, you 8, guess 2. So you're going to be picking first today.
I get to pick first?
Yep.
All right. So I'm just going to do it because I need to test this out. I'm just going to pick Scottie Scheffler with the first pick. And I'm going to try to build a lineup with Scottie Scheffler.
That's fair. I like it.
Because as much as it is about picking a winning lineup, it's also a little bit about testing this theory out too.
I'm going to go a different direction. Actually, a very different direction. I'm going to go with Billy Horschel.
Okay. I like that play.
I'm going to be going value first. Well,
all right. Well, I'm going to switch to value after the Scottie Scheffler, and I'm going to go with Emiliano Grillo. And I think the reason why Grillo's in play for me is because of Scottie Scheffler. Because now after going with the highest price guy and one of the lowest price guys, I have almost 8K still left for my final 4 picks. So that gives me a lot of flexibility to bounce around.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go Siwoo.
And there's a chance I'll play him some this week as well. So I like that pick. All right, then I'm going to go down to my other play, which, again, I think a lot of people – you didn't convince me to say no on him. So I'm going to stick to my guns and not do what I've been doing this year, talk myself out of players, and I'm going to go Jason Day at 7,600.
J-Day.
I think that's just what I got to do. I just got to stick to my initial takes and just roll with it.
Oh, shoot. Hold on. Sorry. So you have Jason Day. All right, I'm going to go another value-ish play. I'm going to go Denny.
I'm surprised you're just not rebuilding the exact same lineup that you built.
Well, I can't because Adam Scott's not in the tournament.
That's true.
I was going to do one lineup of the same lineup just to see what happens.
So just build the same lineup and just sub out Scott.
I'm going to have to sub out Scott and put the rest in. And it's doable, too. That's the funny part.
I'm sure it is. All right, I'm going to go again. This one is, it's a value play. It's a low ownership play, but it's probably out of the 4 names I've named, in my opinion, probably the riskiest play I'll make this week, and that's Kurt Kitayama at 7K.
Kitayama. Okay.
Kitayama.
I'm going to go at the top of the board, or towards the top of the board. No, I'm going to go with my man, Victor Hovland.
Good one. Can Victor Hovland win back-to-back?
I don't know, but I feel like
it's really, really hard to do. I'm not trying to talk you out of it, because I do like, I think he slightly may have turned a corner. But I don't know about guys winning back-to-back. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, I agree with that, but I feel like
unless you're Scottie Scheffler.
Take away Scottie, and I feel like who's the best ball striker in this field? I think it's Hovland by a lot. So
I got to double-check something here in my stat profile here before I do this. Yeah, I think so. This is a name we haven't talked about today. And I know he was really awful at the PGA Championship. But again, eye test. 3 of his last 4 events, he started to turn a corner back to being a pretty solid golfer. And that is Sung J M. Before we even go any further, thoughts on Sung J M? He's had decent success here. He's got a couple top 10s in his last couple events. Is he turning the corner, maybe?
Is that who you're picking right now?
Yeah, Sung J M.
I like Sung J. I think he's definitely going to be in my player pool this week. I think he showed a little bit of an inconsistent history here, which is, obviously a lot of people have. So, no, but I think he's been a lot better. His putting has been a lot better. Like before, he's starting to look like the Sung J of old, I think.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty sure I might be wrong on this one, but I feel like he missed the cut at the PGA, but I feel like he putted
and he putted terribly. 4.6 strokes.
Yeah. So it wasn't really like
there.
It wasn't his irons or anything that was the problem. It was his putting. So
he's gained strokes off the tee in 7 straight events. He's gained strokes tee to green in 6 of the last 7. 5 of 7 around the green, and 3 of 4 putting. So he's trending in the right direction. At 9th, miscut 4th, 12th. That was his last 4 events.
Pretty good around the green too. So
yeah,
I like that.
And this is a side note on him. I don't know if this is the case. This is just a total, random thing here. He won the South Korean National Open, and that got him out of having to do his 2 years of duty that he's required of being a South Korean. And I wonder, winning that event before the season started, he just was like a weight off of his shoulders.
Might have been.
Maybe he wasn't even practicing fully because he thought he was going to be in the military for the next 2 years. And now all of a sudden, this probably has zero to do with it. But maybe it has a little bit to do with it.
It could,
his early struggles this year.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. So that's pick 5 for me.
All right, I'm going Justin Thomas with mine.
God damn. I mean, I don't think I had the money. I didn't have the money left to pick him, but I do like it. I did bet Justin Thomas. It was one of, if not the first or second bet. What's that?
What are Justin Thomas's odds?
I got him at 25-1. I've seen it originally started at 28. It dropped to 25. I think he's at 22 now.
I think he's 30
but it's been in that mid-20s.
Yeah.
It's mid-20s most places you go. And my final pick then will be Sam Burns, which leaves 500 on the table for me.
Sammy Burns.
Because otherwise, I would have had to go up to 88. I could have gone up to. I could have taken Homa there instead. He's the only guy. I could have taken Burns, Benny On, Corey Connors, Spieth, or Homa. They were the guys. Or Tagala, but I'm not playing Tagala this week.
I'm going to go with my man, Shane Lowry.
Shane Lowry. It's another tough grinder course. He's the type of golfer you love on those type of courses.
So speaking of last year's lineup, I have 4 guys that are in last year's lineup on my team.
Okay, there you go. I want to read off a lineup to you here because before you joined the studio, before the show, I did build a Stars and Scrub lineup. And we've mentioned some of these names. We've picked some of these names just now in both of our lineups. And I want to know your thoughts on this lineup build. I built a lineup with Scottie Scheffler, Justin Thomas, and Sam Burns in. Okay? I had to go and put Emiliano Grillo, Billy Horschel, and then Davis Riley to pair up.
I don't mind that at all.
I don't think that's an awful lineup. Do you? Burns, JT, Scottie, Grillo, Riley, and Horschel.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
There's a little bit of risk reward. You get 3 guys that I just absolutely love in Scottie, Burns, and JT this week. Horschel's as consistent as they come. You got to worry about Grillo and Riley a little bit, but I mean, in this elevated field, there's a good chance that they make the cut.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
Okay. Where are we? What I don't even remember. My notepad, you got to send me an updated version of our one and done because my notepad, you can't see it on here, but I've got names circled, scratched off, scribbled. I don't even know who I've taken and not taken.
So you picked Lowry last week, T33 for him, and I picked Connors, who finished 6th.
So you just took your $3 million lead and added 14 more million to it.
Yeah, I'm up 3.4 mil at this moment.
Gotcha. I don't even know who I've picked or not. So I'm just gonna say a name and you tell me if I've taken him or not.
Yeah.
Because I haven't taken him, he's my pick this week, and it's Scottie Scheffler.
You have not taken him.
All right. Scottie Scheffler's my guy.
That was also gonna be my pick. So
well, you can. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter to you. Maybe I shouldn't have made my pick till you made your pick.
Yeah, I was gonna pick him too, so I'll be honest. I'm not even lying. Like
you can screw me and take him. It's okay. I mean, that's the way this contest goes.
Because I was debating on taking him this week or next week.
Yeah. The guy I want to take for next week, I don't think I can. So I've taken Rahm already. I've taken Rory already. I've taken Bryson already. All the other guys I like for next week at the U.S. Open already off the board. So you locking in Scottie too?
All right. Yep.
I totally butchered that by going first there.
Yeah.
Damn it.
That's all right.
Whatever. I'll get really creative next week at the U.S. Open. You got anything else left to add to the equation this week?
No, this is gonna be a fun week though. I'm excited for this week and then leading up to the U.S. Open next week. So
yeah, the U.S. Open next week. Always love. I love U.S. Open week before the U.S. Open because you got all these golfers trying to qualify for it. These pro golfers going to regional qualifiers and forget who it was. Somebody was like spraying champagne. I mean, the guy's been on the PGA Tour before, just doesn't qualify. Right. He's out there spraying champagne because he qualified for the U.S. Open.
Exactly.
And I love those videos of all these guys. And then you see guys, and I forget who it was. Someone double bogeyed the 18th hole to fall out, and then
it was somebody big.
It was somebody big.
It was Neiman.
Yeah, it was it was one of the live guys. It was Neiman. I think it was a double bogey on his last hole, made him miss the qualifying. And you gotta love that, right?
Karma. We'll have a guest on next week. We just don't know who yet. We'll have somebody.
Yeah, I haven't asked anybody for next week.
Maybe a guest or two. Maybe even. So
you never know. Maybe Steve. We'll get Steve back on next week. With that being said, we're gonna wrap up Fairway to Heaven right here, guys. Again, make sure you're hitting that like, subscribe, share, follow button wherever you're watching. If you're watching on replay, make sure you drop your questions, your comments. I do answer them. The trend in the AM this morning, I got like 9 post-show comments. I made sure to respond to all of them. Make sure you guys do that. I greatly appreciate it. I am Phil Stiefel. That is Jason Sullivan sitting next to me. Back same time, same channel next week for U.S. Open talk, guys. One final comments coming. Steve. I just make a joke about Stevie coming on, and I got the eyes already. Steve, start doing your U.S. Open research.
You want to come on next week officially, Steve? Yes or no?
There you go.
Yes
with that being said, guys, everybody have a great week. Let's win some money, guys. Let's shake off the losing. I mean, I'm just telling myself to shake off the losing by telling you all to shake off the losing. But everybody have a great one and stay locked into Edge of Philly. We got an awesome show tonight at 8:00. We are drafting the greatest fictional movie and TV football players of all time. Fantasy football, snake draft style. And I got some names. If you want to know about how much of a dork I am, you got to tune in because I'm not trying to draft the best team. I'm trying to draft the coolest team. And I think I got this now. So make sure you guys are locked into Edge of Philly. We'll see you guys next week on Fairway to Heaven, and bubbles up.